over on the main set. How'd you guys enjoy that match?
It was really nice back and forth. I really thought that Nobbord had momentum seized a few times, but it seems like Frozen just was able to weather the storm, so to speak. And being able to start off with a win here over such a strong opponent has to be just great momentum building for Frozen here.
Yeah, and as we mentioned earlier, winning against a player who's likely to continue to do well in the tournament is great because your first tiebreaker is based on how well your opponents do. So, definitely a good spot for both players, even if they did lose.
Yep, that's right. And when you just look at the field, there's so many players where I'm like, oh, I know that player. Like he's a good ladder player, or he has tournament results, or this guy's a world champion. It feels like Americas has such a high level of playing field this weekend. And we're just going to continue to roll right into it. Here's another match happening in round number 1. We have Trump up against Pksnow. Now, we know a lot about Trump. He's mayor of Value Town. He's been around since the very beginning in the inception days of Hearthstone here, Brian.
Yeah, Trump's just one of the most well-known players overall, very popular streamer, one of the first popular Hearthstone streamers. He competed at the Americas Championship a couple of years ago, but hasn't really had great tournament results since then. But he has kind of buckled down this year to try to get back to competitive form.
Yeah, Trump finished very high in the Legends seasons and also did pretty reasonably well at the One Nation of Gamers major that happened at PAX South. That's how he's accumulated his points. Pksnow, on the other hand, he definitely seems to be one of the more unknown players, but he does have a very strong lineup. He has the Tempo Mage here that you see that's coming out. It's not necessarily a bad pick at all, although it does have a little bit of unusual choices. We see double Acolyte and a Polymorph in his deck list. That is a little bit off the traditional line here. Also has a Flame Strike, of course, which I don't think too many people are expecting to be brought in Tempo Mage, but people do know the deck list, so Trump has to be aware of it.
Yeah, Tempo Mage is a deck that kind of gained a lot of stock after last week at the Europe playoffs, where we saw Reno Mage targeting strategies be very successful and quite popular. And I think that we had a lot of players in this event who are like, okay, I don't want that to happen to me. I don't want somebody being playing Beneath the Grounds Rogue and Beneath the Ground, all these other anti-Reno decks. So we've seen definitely rise in Tempo Mage. But in this match, both players banned Shaman. Trump won the first game, lost the second game, and now in the third game it was the Mage Mirror match where Trump picked up the win with his Reno Mage. So that's why Pksnow is here on his Tempo Mage once again.
All right, well, a very fast start here. This is where Tempo Mage is at its best, when it can leverage minions like Azure Drake behind a couple of mirror images. All right, Trump does have a Soulfire available to him. Is it worth it to potentially risk dropping Reno Jackson?
It looks like Trump doesn't think that way. Trump's actually a player who I feel is very risk averse. He's a player who will generally try to take very safe lines of play and won't gamble on something like a Soulfire in that instance. I think that in this spot, he isn't really under enough pressure from that Azure Drake, at least at this stage, that he feels compelled to Soulfire it. Any of the damage that Azure Drake's going to do, Reno Jackson can undo, so not a huge incentive to fire off that risky play right there. Picking up a Dirty Rat. Not really a card that is necessarily particularly safe to play in any circumstance, but against Tempo Mage, it's a lot of smaller minions, but he does run the risk of exposing something like Archmage Antonidas or Ragnaros. There's no Archmage in this list, but Ragnaros the Fire Lord could be a really bad result.
That's the worst case scenario, and there are a few minions. Oh, he's going for the
Soulfire now.
Oh, I had a really bad feeling about this. Because when you see Patch's highlight, you're like, oh, that's not the card that he discarded. Man, if he lost Reno, that would have been devastating.
Well, this actually, the loss of the Abyssal Enforcer is pretty big here, because Abyssal Enforcer is a great way for Trump to answer a board with a number of small minions like this Mana Worm here.
Sure.
And now Trump is kind of forced to try to battle through with minions, which is hard due to the mirror images rather.
Yeah, I can definitely see that as well. Man, Trump having some pretty weak plays. Voidwalker has been a card that's been rotated back into the Reno Warlock. They've been flirting with it. I know a lot of players aren't big fans of that card. They think it's pretty weak.
This is a weird play from Trump, using the heal on his Refreshment Vendor. I guess the idea is he wants to attack it into the Mana Worm or potentially play around Flame Strike. Flame Strike doesn't seem like it's a huge threat here, considering he would kill all the other minions and still have his mirror image up. So it seems like it might have been potentially somewhat unnecessary use of that heal on his minion. It just gets fireballed away, so ends up kind of wasting that heal in this particular instance.
It could be that he feels comfortable with his life total because he has Reno Jackson.
It's true. Yep. It's true.
And looks like he's going to set up for a Dirty Rat because he has Siphon Soul. Sees a Cult Sorcerer, so not the most threatening minion to play here. Oh, he has a Doomsayer. Do you think tucking that bad boy behind the Dirty Rat's a pretty strong play?
I wonder if he'll actually also use Sunfear Protector to get even more protection on it. Chooses not to. And Pksnow here, though, he has a lot of tools in his hand, a lot of burn damage. And we see part of the reason that the Reno Warlock deck can sometimes struggle with Reno Mage is just how much burn they're able to assemble after pressuring somewhat in the early turns of the game. Tempo Mage is just better at that. Tempo Mage just has a ton of burn. It doesn't have, you know, kind of clunky utility cards that are not really that good against the Warlock deck to begin with.
Well, Pksnow is just going to go for the biggest board possible. And Trump is going to take a lot of damage here. Wow. Pksnow really trying to isolate everything and build up the biggest board possible.
There's a lot of spell damage here, so... Oof. I mean, we were talking earlier about that that Abyssal Enforcer that Trump ended up discarding to the Soulfire.
Right.
And look at this board. You know, Abyssal Enforcer patches would just clear everything off, and Trump without any AoE now against a board full of these small but very dangerous minions. It's a 5-attack Mana Worm.
He does have Spellbreaker, but it doesn't address the fact that there's multiple threats on the board.
And it's not just the attack of the threats, but the spell damage is very crucial as well.
Yes.
Just having the Azure Drake and the Cult Sorcerer there makes every card Pksnow draws that much more dangerous. And Arcane Blast, that kills anything. It's a 6 damage Arcane Blast right now.
1 mana Fireball.
Not bad, not bad. Can't go face. The number of times that I had like a Malagos in play. Ooh, Barnes finds. Okay, that's a very good pickup off the Barnes. Essentially just another card for Pksnow here.
Yeah, you know, the Acolytes of Pain are a little bit more interesting because you already have 2 Arcane Intellects.
Ooh, the draw finds an Arcane Missiles, so able to preserve even more of his board. Now, Trump, he has the Reno Jackson, but if he Renos here, there's just still a ton of damage waiting on the other side of the board. This is the whole post-Reno damage that TJ always loves to talk about.
Yeah, not really much going on for Trump here. He can tap first before playing Reno Jackson so he can maximize his chance to draw into Twisting Nether or any kind of AoE. Shadow Flame would be really useful as well. Finds a Harrison Jones. It's not going to be it. Do we feel like we need to play Corruption here? It feels like some of these minions are problematic, and playing Corruption means that most likely they'll be traded in, but you want to get rid of this Azure Drake. You want to get rid of this Cult Sorcerer.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's not going to be necessarily a better opportunity to fire off the Corruption. He can trade it in, of course, but Trump needs something to happen here to get more minions off this board rather than just letting them go to the face.
Yeah, but Fireland's Portal for 7 damage. And Pksnow.
Ooh.
Whoa, hold on. We have
Summoning
a Summoning Stone. That's one of my favorite cards that came out with that expansion. Just being able to see minions being summoned with it. And for a while, it actually was Rain and Mage.
Yeah. Ooh, and a Hellfire picked up for Trump, but that doesn't clear everything. It'll pick up a card for Pksnow thanks to the Acolyte, and there's still the Summoning Stone.
Well, you have Hellfire and Patches.
Yeah, he can take out the Barnes with the Patches after the fact, but you know the Summoning Stone off of that Firelands Portal is pretty huge here. Because it will not only allow Pksnow to keep generating minions. It's not very powerful with Mirror Image, for instance, but it is certainly powerful with Fireball. Oh, but there's just Ragnaros as well.
Yeah, you know, Ragnaros is just as good. I mean, it's pretty much better than any minion you summon off Summoning Stone.
Yeah, if Ragnaros just goes face here, he has lethal in hand with Fireball. Mirror Image helps protect the Summoning Stone and gives him, a World Champion.
Yeah.
Firebat. Yeah, the Siphon Soul.
Oh, wait.
Okay.
Hold on.
Well,
you have
Mind
this
Control Tech. This
and Siphon
has the potential to be huge. Grabbing either Ragnaros or the Stone.
Wow.
Takes Ragnaros.
He got the Ragnaros.
Oh, wow. You see a little bit of of a grin from Trump here. Okay, well, that's one way to do it.
I think he's, and Defender Vargas to supplant his board here. He's going to be vulnerable to Pksnow drawing more burn damage to end the game, but if you can survive these next couple turns here from Trump, you know, the only way for Pksnow to win is a classic fireball.
The poor summoning stone. Never get to have its day in the sun.
Yeah, Polymorph come in really huge here to just kind of stall it. Pksnow just a little bit off from killing his opponent, just needs a little bit more damage. If any of these pings go phase, it'll be huge.
There's one.
Yeah, and I think you may just ping the face again here, because it doesn't look like you have a clean trade at all with the fiery bat.
Well, it's gonna go for, see where the ping goes.
All right. Yeah, just in case. You never know. If it hits the mind control tech, you can ping the mind control tech.
Ooh, Jiraxxus
yeah.
for Trump. That's another big source of healing.
Wow.
You can actually clear off everything on the opposing side of the board here, too. That's a very big draw for the mayor of Value Town. Can even take down the Flame Waker, which represents a ton of damage.
Yeah, I mean, Trump looks like he's in a prime position to close out this game and this series. He's up 2-1, and Pksnow needs to draw into consecutive forms of damage or draw. And that's a big pickup here from Pksnow. The Acolyte of Pain, the second Acolyte of Pain that many people probably would not even include in the tempo list, is going to come up clutch if he's able to draw extra damage. He's going to hold on to Blood Mage Thanos, so that way he can have potential range of damage, because he wants to kill Jiraxxus all in one turn here.
Yep, finds an Arcane Intellect, so Trump has the value train going, and is going to have inevitability if he gets enough turns, but Pksnow, he's a lot of draws to pick up the burn to kill Jiraxxus.
More draw. He's got Arcane Intellect. And if you can find another fireball of some kind, if you can find perhaps the Forgotten Torch into the Roaring Torch and piece together some damage, he may be able to get this. It's looking like he has a 2-turn window, though, to do this. He has to get all the burn now, and then he has to kill his opponent on the following turn. Otherwise, he's dead.
And Trump even has Siphon Soul in hand, so a minion for Pksnow can just represent the ability for Trump to easily use that and gain some life back. So this Blood Mage Thalnos can potentially dig to him to another card here.
Yeah, and he can Frostbolt the face to stall for damage for one turn. His opponent only has 5, 7, 13.
The Frostbolt to the face, though, enables the Siphon Soul for life gain. So it means that if he can't just draw another Fireball effect and win the game if Trump just plays Siphon Soul here. And yeah, he will do just that, putting himself to 13. Oh no, but he's at just 13, so Fireball is actually lethal.
The second Fireball, which...
And he's got 2 draw. Oh, he's almost out of cards.
Oh, it means that
last card.
Is it just straight up
Fireball? Roaring Torch or Fireball, I think.
I think it's Roaring Torch, you're right.
So Trump has all this burn, but yeah, at exactly 13 life, that is exactly 13 damage coming from the Roaring Torch. And whew, Trump had an army of demons, but the burn was too much.
Yeah, you know, the fact that Pksnow mapped out that perfectly, knowing I have a 100% chance as long as he doesn't heal past 13 health. Really well played here by Pksnow, and I gotta say the deck preparation here specifically came in very clutch here for Pksnow.
Yeah, we mentioned earlier that Tempo Mage really increased in terms of presence this week. Reno Mage dropped from the single most popular deck down to, I think, number 4, going from 80% to around 60%, if I recall correctly. And that a lot of it was due to the rise of Tempo Mage, because Tempo Mage is a deck that is very powerful against a deck like Reno Warlock, where we saw Trump, he had Reno, he had Jiraxxus right when he needed him, he had all of these tools, and he still eventually got burned out.
Yeah, but if he wasn't able to, he would have lost. It was basically a turn's difference there. Yeah. Because if he was off by 1, Trump would actually kill him on the backswing. That was the difference between winning and losing in that position. And you can definitely see how tight-edged every single damage really matters here. And Tempo Mage is great at squeezing out those little bits.
That was even a game where he stole Ragnaros with mind control
and made sure that the Fireland's portal value off the Summoning Stone was 0.
Yep.
It was definitely a really tight one here for Trump and for Pksnow. But Pksnow now ties it up, and we're sending it to game number 5 in order to see who is going to take a 1-0 lead in the Swiss playoffs here. So it looks like game number 5 will be Reno Warlock up against Pirate Warrior. And, oh, that's not the opening hand you really want if you're Arena Warlock.
No, it is not. Trump, he does have a Hellfire, which can help clear out the board in the middle of the game, but you don't really want to be damaging yourself that much against the Pirate Warrior deck, simply because they do enough damaging of you for both of you.
All right, well, looks like no early weapon here, so Pksnow, rather than play the South Sea deckhand, is just going to hero power, knowing that if you play South Sea deckhand, it gets removed anyways. You get that same 2 damage either way because it's playing into Demon Wrath, trying to hedge his bets in case his opponent has the best case scenario.
All right, so Pksnow, he's got a lot of options this turn. Picks up a N'Zoth's First Mate, which does give him a weapon, tons of burst in hand, 2 copies of Heroic Strike, along with Elite and the Reaper and that deckhand. So not going to give Trump much time. He does have the AoE removal with the Hellfire, but no Reno Jackson anywhere in sight just yet.
Yeah, you know, you can stall, you can clear the board, but do you have Reno Jackson? Do you have taunts definitively stop the Pirate Warrior? You need a little bit more than just heal. You just need a little bit more than board clear in order to win this matchup.
Yeah, and this is just incredibly fast pressure from Pksnow. He is putting Trump down to 11 this turn. He's representing... Is he representing lethal next turn if something isn't removed here? He has 6, 7. Yeah, he actually can just win the game next turn if Trump doesn't use a removal spell or taunt up with that Sunfear Protector.
Yeah, and you can see that Trump's playing anti-aggro Arena Warlock too. He's got Soulfire and Voidwalker, but he's got none of those cards in his opening hand here, and that's part of the struggle with Arena Warlock in general. You just draw a little bit inconsistently.
Yeah, and Pksnow 1 mana off being able to finish this game with Heroic Strike, Mortal Strike. But he does have Arcanite Reaper and sends in 7. Trump down to 4. If this card is not Reno Jackson, he is dead. Voidwalker at least looks like he has a hope.
Yeah, Voidwalker going to be able to stall for a little bit here, and then he could play Sunfury Protected to draw additional taunt, but then the Mortal Strike. The Mortal Strike's the real big problem because it can just burn.
It's just lethal to the face, yeah. Yeah, Trump trying to navigate through, okay, can I beat this, this Reaper with my Voidwalker? Can I get a little bit more taunt action with the Protector? He finds Ooze.
Okay.
So he must be thinking, oh my god, best possible draw in the world. But we see that Mortal Strike just waiting in the hand as Trump's going to get, I imagine, 2 taunts from the Sun Fury to protect him from 2 possible charge minions. But it is not a weapon, not a charge minion. It is a Mortal Strike to the face. And Pksnow takes down the Mayor of Value Town 3 games to 2.
Man, what a comeback here from Pksnow. And looks like Trump a little devastated because he knows the difference between 1 damage was actually the series in that position. And Tempo Mage really coming out strong. I think that's going to be one of the decks to watch for this tournament, as well as the aggressive Rogue that a lot of people are bringing to the tournament. Because when I saw that deck, I was like, okay, I'm not sure. It seems more like a gimmick. But now this week, I definitely feel like that's one of the decks that you have to be really mindful for because it's going to sweep one under you. Yeah,
we haven't seen it on camera just yet, but the deck that Green Sheep played last week, there's actually been a number of versions we've seen players experimenting with in the interim. RDU was actually playing a version on his stream earlier this week when I happened to tune in, and he was like, I wish I had found this deck before playoffs because he thought it was so good. And we saw the representation of Miracle Rogue like cut in half this week as so many players moved over to playing Aggro Rogue because he thinks it's that good.
Aggro Rogue is actually more popular than Miracle Rogue for this tournament. 18 out of 16-2 players prior to the Tavern Hero were siding with Aggro Rogue versus 16, so it's a little bit more. We do have a lot of results to update you guys. TJ and Admiral on the side set here to bring you guys the weather and the news.
It's raining.
It's raining, yes. It's raining in Southern California. And unfortunately for Trump, that Hawaiian shirt that he's wearing is not going to be worn at the Bahamas just yet. He still has a chance. He lost in round number 1, but still a lot of Hearthstone.
Oh yeah,
if he played admirable.
Probably needs to win out at this point. The loss in round 1 means your tiebreakers are going to be typically a little bit worse as the opponents you're playing against are also in that 1-loss bracket. So a lot of work for him to still do. Right, take a look of updates that are happening around the tournament. Astrogation took out Pksnow 3 games to 1. Pksnow, a Latin American representative from the Summer Championships last year. We had Silent Storm take out Vanquisher 3 games to 1. Napoleon defeated Just Saiyan 3-0. Teebs over Lead Paint 3 games to 2. Talion took out Muzzy in round number 1, 3 games to 2 as well. Killing All Day, 3-1 over Maki. Coglorin, 3-2 over Sidonia, the Canadian representative from BlizzCon. Amnesiac stepping it up big, 3 games to 2 over Seji in round 1. Zolay taking out HC015, 3 games to 1. And Nostum taking out Roof Trellin, another representative from the Americas Championship, 3 games to 1.
Yeah, here's a little bit of a graphical representation of what we just sort of talked about in a nutshell here. A lot of notable players there at 1-0. Amnesiac, a big name to look forward to, as well as Hot Meowth, who's the top seed coming into the Americas Winter Playoffs. Big note here, the match that we watched on stream earlier, Firebat falls 0-1 in the first round, and it's not only an 0-1, it was a 3-0 in his first match. Villain just absolutely demolished Firebat in round number 1.
Yeah, Villain is playing well, and on top of that, he also had good draws, and that's really the winning combination. I mean, to win a tough tournament like this one, you're going to have to get a little bit lucky, but you're going to have to play well on top of that. So those two put together, too tough for the 2014 World Champion.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a rough road for him ahead, but Firebat, one thing that Lothar was talking about in the opening show, we were talking about predictions. Lothar, of course, had Firebat's prediction. This is Firebat's year. He's hungry. Last year, he took a little bit of a step back. You know, he started casting and started to get more into casting. But even when we had him on set, we talked to him, and it made him want to play more. Casting and sitting behind the desk and watching people have that success, watching people play and win, that made Firebat want to play even more and want to win even more. He casted with you at the World Championship, and you could tell after he came off the desk and watched Pavel win and hoist up that trophy, that he wanted that moment again. So I don't doubt that Firebat's still got a cool head right now, and he's looking forward to playing some more rounds of Hearthstone.
Yeah, and I can speak to that experience as well. You know, in 2014, I spent a large portion of that time casting. In 2015, did the same. And 2016, the early championships rolled around, and they had just brought about the Hearthstone Championship Tour. I was like, oh, I got to get a piece of this. And I competed for a couple of preliminaries, and if I was a younger man like Firebat, I probably would still be competing. At 20 years old, he's got that drive, he's got that ambition, and he's young right now. The time spent investing into these competitions, it's very easy for him to do as long as he's got the drive and ambition for it. Very busy guy, but that's the time to be playing.
Yeah, we'll see if he can turn around, as well as some of the other notables that we mentioned. We'll keep track of them as we get through. But round 1 is complete. All the matchups have been finished, and we are now in the process of seeding the matches for round number 2. While we get that underway, though, we had a chance over the previous weeks to sit down with some members of Team 5, the Hearthstone team,